everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Shay, otherwise known as Ginger Malta, here on the Big White Tea, and today I am back with episode 5 of the Not So Berry Legacy Challenge. So in the last episode, Fern spent most of the day in Strangerville with her older sister, where she was officially introduced to her niece and nephew. Fern also went out to dinner with her coworkers as congratulations on her transfer and recent promotion. Fern is just doing some cleaning right now because it's Winterfest Eve, but we also have a special someone as our stayover guest for the holidays this year. So Penny Pizzazz, as I've mentioned before, is Fern's bestie from their college days at Brychester. If you've watched my laundromat build video from like a couple of months ago, you already know that in my save file, Penny and Dirk Dreamer are in a committed relationship. They are long distance since Penny stays in San Myshuno. FYI, in my head, San Myshuno is like New York and Del Sol Valley is like LA. So you can imagine that they live on two different coasts away from each other, which means that they don't see each other often. So towards the end of her work trip, she'll be staying with Dirk before going back. For today, Fern and Penny won't be getting into anything crazy. At least I don't think I have anything major planned on the agenda. The property managers of Fern's complex are throwing a neighborhood potluck / holiday mixer. So we might hit that up for some free food and the opportunity to socialize with some of the residents who live here. All right, y'all. So it is Winterfest Eve, as y'all can see. Fern is still doing some last minute cleaning. It's kind of one of those situations where someone shows up to your house and you start noticing all the things that you didn't notice before, dishes in the sink that you didn't notice before, stuff on the floor that you didn't notice beforehand. And so she's just really rushing to vacuum up. As I mentioned before, it is Winterfest Eve, and so cleaning happens to be one of the holiday traditions that we have to complete. We also need to decorate and do some baking. I figured if you're gonna put out cookies for Santa Claus, or what's his name again? I forget what the Sims Winterfest guy is called, but if you're gonna put out cookies for him, then you probably would want to bake something on the night before. And then festive spirit is another tradition, but it looks like Fern ignores this tradition because she is materialistic. Penny is fresh off her flight, probably still jet lagged. So we're gonna have her shower and kind of change into something a little bit more comfortable. It's 8 in the morning, so they're just gonna lounge around. I'm gonna have Penny come over here and take a brisk shower, and then when she's done, she can change into her loungewear. All right, so she's freshly showered and ready to chill. I love this set. Penny is such an it girl. She gives me it girl vibes. Like, I love her. But anyway, Fern is over here playing her video game and it's so loud. And Penny is watching. I feel like this is reminding them of their college days. I mean, they only spent like a year and a half together, but they grew so close because they're kind of similar in certain ways. Oh my gosh, the besties are reunited. Reunited and it feels so good.
Reunited and it feels so good.
All right, so right now I'm gonna have Fern use the computer to cause mischief by trolling the forums online. And then after that, I want her to write some goals for her bucket list, just for my own curiosity. I'm kind of curious to see what she'll come up with. It's not a part of the challenge, obviously, so it's just a little something I want to do for myself. So I'm gonna have her write some goals, more on the Not So Berry Legacy Challenge goals. So obviously we're supposed to complete the scientist career. We're supposed to max out the mischief skill and the logic skill, and then we're supposed to complete the elements collection. And truthfully, I'm not worried about any of those things except for the elements because they spawn very sporadically and I'll just have to make time out for Fern to go and dig up some stuff. But yeah, I don't know. We'll get through. We'll get through. Another thing is that obviously in order for this challenge to continue, She has to have her own child who will become the next heir for Gen 2. And because it's not a goal specified in the challenge, I basically have free reign to choose, you know, who she ends up marrying. How's she playing video games, girl? Did you do your bucket list goals? I want to woohoo somewhere that gives me the chills.
Bombastic side eye. Criminal offensive side eye.
Oh my God. Oh God. We're on the topic of woohooing and falling in love and starting a family, whatever. So I guess that's befitting, but okay. So she wants to woohoo in a crypt on a cemetery lot. What does it say? I don't care what you think. The dead can't judge me. That's so freaky. So freaky and devious, girl. What the hell? What the helly? I'm gonna have her troll the forums again because we might as well. So anyway, Fern is gonna troll the forums one more time, and once she does that, we will have checked off the second level of this aspiration, which means we will move on to level 3, which is professional prankster. And apparently we have to pull 10 pranks and then achieve level 6 of the mischief skill. So of course, her mischievous ass wants to woohoo in a cemetery. Of course, of all things, that is what she wants to do. I don't know. Do we want to go to this potluck? We might ditch it. I was thinking maybe they could just skip the potluck altogether, but I think Fern wants to kind of talk to her neighbors a little bit. If you look at her relationships, she has a full, almost full red bar with Cassie Goth, Vanessa Jiang, and Kayla, or a little bit of red with Kayla Fleming. And all 3 girls are Fern's neighbors, and they are constantly coming up to Fern's apartment to give her a noise complaint. And because they've done that, and because Fern has consistently ignored them, they freaking hate her guts. I feel like Fern should probably try to repair her relationship with them a little bit. I mean, it couldn't hurt to attempt, but and the funny thing is, I don't even think they've formally met yet. She hasn't met them at all, but they just have beef. Penny is dancing. What music is this? Baroque? Let's change the station to R&B. I feel like Fern is on the phone with her sister, wishing her a happy early Winterfest and letting her know that she'll be sending the gifts via mail to her niece and nephew. Oh, I can't wait for Fern to have her own kids. I know I'm jumping the gun talking about this, but I genuinely can't wait. Fern just got off the phone with her older sister. And y'all know we spent the day with her yesterday, which is literally Fern's yesterday. And so it says, it's rare to feel like someone truly gets where you're coming from, but I always feel that with you. That is so freaking cute. You know, Fern and Penny have their own sisterly bond. I think it's because they're both very assertive, a little headstrong. Fern is a little bit more childish than Penny. Penny is very put together in my eyes. They're both super smart gals. Oh my gosh, look at Fern's buffs. She has a sad buff that says, feeling the distance from phone call. That chat made me realize how much I've missed this person. Oh my gosh. And no, really, from the perspective of Fern, who is a little sister, right? Obviously, she's older than Jade and Oliver, but to Sage, Sage is her big sister, okay? I can understand the feeling of like missing your older sibling. That's so sweet. That is so sweet. She misses her big sister. Oh my gosh. Okay, her other buff says presents tomorrow from anticipating opening presents. Yay, tomorrow Fern is going to get presents. What a wonderful day it will be. And then decorated from good environment. Having decorations around makes for happy environs. And then pretty tasty from eating food. That was a fairly tasty dish. And then of course, feeling the distance. And then she has her, she's on her birth control. All right, so I'm gonna have Fern go ahead and make some raspberry cheesecake, and that'll be the dish that she brings to this potluck. It looks like her baking skill is a level 2 and her cooking skill is a level 6, or she just got to like level 6. She's like 0% complete. As far as logic and mischief, she's a level 3 for both, and they're pretty neck and neck as well. Like she's 97% complete with the logic skill, and she's 94% complete with this level of the mischief skill. So she's leveling them both. Oh girl, I'm not you looking at me directly. That was scary. Why do my Sims always do that to me? Anyway, she's neck and neck with these two, so she will be leveling up the both of them very soon. So that's good. So I'm gonna put it in here. I'm also gonna cheat up her energy just a tad, because we gotta go, okay? We got places to be in, like, I don't know, maybe I'll start the potluck around 6. All right, y'all, so editing Shay here. I had some issues with my audio, and I did not realize that I had these issues until I got that footage into my editor. So the rest of this episode will continue as a voiceover instead of my live commentary through the gameplay, which may or may not make any difference to you guys, but I just wanted to let y'all know. Anywho, Fern is here at her property manager's apartment for the holiday potluck. She's sitting across from Kayla Fleming and her boyfriend, Brett Henderson, and she's getting ready to introduce herself to them both. As we already know, Kayla doesn't really like Fern. None of her neighbors do, and that includes Cassie Goth and Vanessa Jiang, who are in the living room. But the point is, we're going to try anyway, okay? We're turning over a new leaf. New Year's is right around the corner, so we're going to attempt to make amends with these girls so that we don't go into the new year having a bunch of people hate our guts, okay? That's the point. So Kayla beats Fern to the punch and introduces herself, and looking at their relationship panel, we can see that Fern thinks that Kayla is interesting. Kayla finds Fern to be sophisticated, like a lot of people typically do. So thankfully, there is some good soil, some good ground here to cultivate a better relationship with Kayla, despite the fact that they may have gotten off on the wrong foot in the past. Next, Fern goes ahead to introduce herself to Brett, and this is where things get a little awkward, okay? So Fern gets an instant attraction to Brett, and Kayla is just looking at her sideways a little bit like, not too much on my man. So when we look at their relationship panel between Brett and Fern, we see that Brett finds Fern to be shallow, which he's not wrong, okay? She really is a materialistic person. And Fern not only finds him fun to be around, but also finds him extremely attractive. Okay, so before Fern can get a chance to start flirting with Brett in front of his girlfriend, literally, I have her introduce herself to Vanessa and Cassie. Vanessa and Cassie both dislike Fern a significant amount, more so than Kayla for real. So I was kind of worried to see how their first impressions of each other were going to go. Clearly, I had nothing to worry about because both girls ended up having a crush on Fern, and they both find her to be interesting as well. Now, Fern didn't really think too much about Vanessa. I think Fern thinks she's stuck up, but Fern thinks that Cassie is imaginative. So I was very surprised. I was like, okay, little enemies to lovers, okay. But the rest of the holiday potluck proceeded as normal. There was good food and conversation and music and dancing, and overall just a chill little vibe. Nothing major happened until the very end of the night when our two hosts, literally Fern's property managers, snuck off to the bathroom to woohoo. And not just any woohoo, the wicked kind of woohoo, okay? So they were getting wicked in the bathroom, and that was when I decided, okay, maybe it's time for Fern and Penny to go home. So that's pretty much the summary of the holiday potluck. So the girls are back in Fern's apartment. They are enjoying a nice hot cup of cocoa and marshmallows. They've got the R&B radio going, so they're listening to Baby Tate, who is one of Penny's favorite artists. Even though it's a little after midnight, the girls are wide awake right now, and they're just using this opportunity to chat and catch each other up on what's been going on in their respective lives. For Fern, it feels so much better than any FaceTime or phone call because she actually has her best friend right in front of her, so it just feels so much easier to have this conversation. Penny and Fern are long overdue for a little gossip session, and of course, Penny is all ears. The girls are similar in a lot of ways, as I've mentioned earlier in the episode, but dating is not one of them, okay? Where Penny is more monogamous or only interested in one person at a time, Fern has no issues dividing her attention between the people she's interested in. Why does this matter? It matters because I think Penny can offer Fern a different outlook to the situation that she's currently in. I kind of want to use this opportunity to share some details on Fern's perspective on romance, her current dating situation, and how her traits are playing a major part in her feelings towards Thorn and Nigel as prospects for this legacy challenge. As we already know, Fern is jealous and materialistic, but I do not think she's delusional, at least not willfully. She's very upfront with herself, in my opinion. Her and Thorn have had an on and off friends with benefits sort of relationship for a little over a year now, and Nigel is someone who she's reconnected with, but is very much interested in getting to know better. And I think at the end of the day, much like Fern is going to have to make some tough decisions in regards to motherhood, like we discussed in episode 4, she will also have to make some hard choices in terms of who her future partner will be and whether they will have all the chemistry, compatibility, openness, and trust that she wants. And so just to lay it out in the open for y'all, Thorn being a world-renowned musician and celebrity is a major point of contention for Fern. It's the primary reason they both have not made steps to commit to one another outside of going on little dates and hunching on each other. And let me be clear, it's very mutual. This arrangement is mutual. They both feel that way. Fern, being the jealous person that she is, makes it hard for her to fully trust Thorn when he's out on tour twice a year, doing interviews in San Sequoia, pop-up events in San Myshuno. In episode 6, we are going to talk more in detail about Thorn's career, but for now, I'll just say he's in his prime, okay? And no matter what he feels for Fern, he isn't willing to halt the upward trajectory of his career for her. And to be real, Fern wouldn't do that shit either. She would never stop her own motion for a man, okay? In terms of that, they are low-key in agreement. Now, I'm not saying it's impossible for them to get together or for them to have true, genuine love, but what I am saying is that it would take a lot of work. Luckily for Thorn, one of his best qualities in Fern's opinion, which I repeat, in Fern's opinion, his best quality is that he's rich, literally rolling in money. He has too much to know what to do with. And for a material girl like Fern, sometimes her problems can be solved with money and gifts. That's just the reality of it. Thorn would buy her a house in every major city. She'd have her own personal security detail. She would have access to all his money, liquid or otherwise. Like I'm telling y'all, if not for Fern's trust issues, this would be the perfect arrangement for her. With all that being said, some of you guys might be thinking Thorn has a leg up on Nigel since he and Fern have been messing around for a while now, whereas Nigel and Fern have known each other since their high school days. It's true that Nigel and Fern are just barely establishing the fact that they're interested in each other. Fern really wants to get to know Nigel on a deeper level. Nigel and Thorn are diametrically opposed, and that is very intentional. If Thorn is supposed to be the spontaneous, carefree, maybe even a little self-absorbed character, then Nigel is supposed to play off of that dichotomy or play off of that difference by being grounded, diligent, and a bit more traditional by comparison. Unfortunately, Nigel hasn't gotten a lot of screen time with y'all, and I'm trying to let y'all learn about him in a more organic way as episodes continue. So I won't go into too much detail here about his personality, but I think Fern recognizes that Nigel is very safe. And while he may or may not be able to provide her with the lavish luxuries that her heart and ego kind of desire, she is comfortable enough with him to express when she's feeling her jealousy and insecurities flare up. And so far, he's been really good at dealing with her worries. In the short amount of time that they have been talking, Fern has learned that Nigel is a very committed guy. He's very intentional about every little thing he does. One thing I will say is that a point of concern with Fern is that Nigel is not as open as she'd like him to be. She can kind of see on the surface that there are some secrets that he's keeping from her, certain conversation topics that he just doesn't want to delve into. And of course, she doesn't want to make him uncomfortable or cross any boundaries and stuff. So she's been chilling, but it's still a thing in the back of her mind that she's kind of questioning, because Thorn is an open book. He's a very what you see is what you get kind of guy. So it's a little different to navigate. Both guys are very complex and layered. That is intentional, that is by design. And even Fern herself has a lot of complexities to her character. She's materialistic, and I see her as a shopping addict, and yet she also tries to be impact conscious where she can, and she will never ever eat meat for that very reason. She's jealous and possessive, and also a huge lover girl. She's so beautifully contradictory, and I absolutely love her for that. Yeah, I think she's gotten a lot off of her chest this evening speaking with Penny, and Penny has offered her best advice. But it's 3 in the morning, it's getting pretty late, so I think the girls are going to head to bed and get some sleep, because in the morning it will be Winterfest. I mean, technically it already is, but Penny is up bright and early at 6:30 in the morning. She's already showered and gotten herself ready for the day. She's thinking a lot about the conversation that she had with Fern last night and just how vulnerable Fern was. I don't think she's seen her get like that in a very long time. So today she's going out of her way to make breakfast for the two of them while Fern is still in bed, catching some extra Z's. Penny knows that this year Fern and her family will not be coming together for the holidays. Fern's parents are out of the country and will be spending the next few days with their maternal in-laws in Mount Komorebi. I mentioned back in episode 1 that Fern's mom is originally from Mount Komorebi. That is where Fern's parents met for the very first time while Fern's dad was stationed over there for his military service. That being said, the Berries are celebrating Winterfest individually, and Penny can kind of see that Fern is feeling real lonely. I don't think she expected to see her friends so isolated. Like, aside from her neighbors and coworkers, what other friends does she have, you know? So I think Penny is going to try to go out of her way to be extra attentive to Fern, because, you know, she can be very possessive, you know, of her friends and a little jealous. And so since Penny is going to be spending the rest of her trip with Dirk, I think she's going to try to make the most of what time she and Fern have, so that Fern doesn't feel like she's being ditched. After exchanging gifts, the girls decided to leave the house and somehow found themselves here at the movie theaters. It's one of the few places still open on a holiday. This lot was created by Emerald Stories. It's a multifunctional lot with many different things to do. I'll have all the details in the description so you guys can check it out for yourselves. And yeah, they're just gonna get a few selfies in real quick, and they look so freaking cute doing so. I know Fern is happy to be doing all of the fun things she'd like to do on a regular basis, but can't given her work schedule and just not having someone to do it all with. Even better, because all expenses are being covered by Penny as an extra Winterfest gift to her friend. But yeah, so they're watching their little movie and just enjoying their time together. Nothing much to be said about that. And after the movie, they also did some karaoke, and as y'all know, Fern can't sing for shit, and clearly Penny can't either, but hey, they look cute, okay? I can't lie, even though they can't sing, they look so adorable. After karaoke, Penny challenged Fern to a quick game. I think right here they both unleashed their inner child for a bit. Fern has always been better at games than Penny, but Penny's pretty competitive. And I guess this is her way of cheering Fern up and trying to lift her spirits. So she's fine with taking the L on this one. And the last activity of the day was skating, although neither of them can skate worth a damn. They're almost as bad at skating as they are singing, so they fall a bunch of times, but at the end of the day, it's all about them having fun, which they seem to be having a lot of. And yeah, finally, they conclude the day at the cafe where Fern happens to run into one of her coworkers. And that was pretty much all they did for Winterfest. So I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this video up here. Thank you so much for tuning into the 5th episode of the Not So Berry Legacy Challenge. I feel like this episode was all over the place because I had issues with my audio and stuff, but next episode will be our mid-season finale, which I've been planning and outlining since before the series even started, because I knew I didn't want this generation to have more than 12 or so episodes, but we'll talk more about the specifics later on. I also want to pick back up with my save file progress tracker series, sort of as an excuse to talk to you guys more about some of the things that I've been working on behind the scenes. So keep an eye out for that as well if you're interested to know what I've been working on the back end. But yeah, thank you guys once again for watching. Leave a like and or comment down below and consider subscribing to the channel if you are not already, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!